Hello, hi, a very happy good evening. So this is Krishna Ma'am and we've been talking about the story of life on earth, and that's biology. So welcome to my new beginning. So today we're going to talk about part 4 of evolution. So yeah, for the last 1 week we have been talking about the story of how actually evolution happened and what are the ins and outs of evolution. So how do you believe, what were the evidences that are there to prove that evolution happened. So all these was a topic for so long. So today we're going to talk how from the biological point of view evolution happened. So evolution means something change in the normal variant, that is evolution, right? So or you can say changes in the flora and fauna over a period of time, so that is evolution. So how did this evolution happen? So that is what we have been talking about. So please give me one more lecture, I will be done with evolution. And what is the next chapter you want me to teach? So please put it up on the chat box, or please put it up on the live chat box or in the reply box, so that I know which chapter to teach you next. Okay, so we have someone called as A.M. Nagapooja. Hello, a very happy good evening, Pooja. Thank you so much for joining my session today. So please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So Pooja, you're coming to my session for the first time, so I hope you enjoy it. And I'm teaching evolution, so I'll be done with evolution in another lecture. So probably today is Monday, so Wednesday I'll be done with evolution. So can you tell me what other chapters you feel tough and you want me to teach? So I am done with genetics, so I am done with biotechnology, I'm here in evolution. So can you suggest me, apart from these, any other topic that you find it difficult, especially in class 11, which topic you want me to teach? So I am ready to teach. So please give in your suggestions in the live chat box or in the comment section after the lecture is over, right? So thank you once again for joining my lecture today, and please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So here we're going to talk about evolution part 4. So what are we going to talk about today? So let's see, let's have a recap. So I hope you guys will never forget this picture. Yes, so this is a very true depiction of evolution. So how evolution happens, so how it moves about, right? So this is a typical description of evolution. You agree? So this is what comes to our mind when we talk about evolution, right? So how from monkey humans came, and how are we here today from the early man. So all that is a story of evolution. So this is a GIF that I kept showing for the last 3 lectures as well. Okay, so here we are in evolution. So where are we and what were we talking about in the last lecture? So we started talking about origin of life in part 1. So what are the theories that led to support how life came onto earth? And then we went on to talk about evidences for evolution in part 2. What are the different evidences that we have? Like we spoke about paleontological evidence, evidence from the fossil. Then you have your embryological support, and number 3 you have your comparative morphology and anatomy. By comparing the structure and function, we came to an understanding that yes, evolution has indeed happened. So in the last lecture, that is probably on Friday, yeah, that's exactly on Friday, so I was talking about adaptive radiation, right? And what is biological evolution? How would it all start? So I told you evolution is directly related to the lifespan of an individual. So that is where we are going to continue from. So today we'll probably talk about the mechanism of evolution. Yes, and the most important Hardy-Weinberg principle. Evolution of man is a story for another lecture. So that is on Wednesday. So today is an important topic because you're going to talk about the Hardy-Weinberg principle. Right? Yes. So by the end of the day, when I go and I rest for when I'm done with the day's work, so when I go back and rest, so I literally sit down for 5 minutes to understand my breathing, so that I concentrate on my breathing, because I have a tiring day. And in all the classes that I have, I teach a mixture of topics. For example, today morning I started off with reproductive health, and then I went on to teach digestion. And then I taught mineral nutrition, then I taught ecosystem. So now I am teaching you evolution. So after this, I'll be teaching another chapter. So that is transport and plants. So I teach a variety of chapters. So when I teach them so it's not that I'm teaching for the first time, but every time I teach these chapters, something new I come to understand, I discover it. So when I'm teaching, okay, so this is the way I can give you examples, that is the way I can give you examples. So this is how I do, this is how I do. So it keeps me going, it makes me love biology more, because every day, though I do a wide array of topics, starting from botany, zoo, it's a combination of topics that I do, that literally at one point I am like saturated, but I still feel biology is fascinating. So definitely biology is fascinating as well as saturating at some point, I have to be genuine. But this Hardy-Weinberg principle is never boring. So there are some chapters which you feel, oh God, why to read? But let me tell you, Hardy-Weinberg principle is one topic that even I read with a lot of interest in my masters. It is a very interesting topic, and it's very factual. Probably because I liked it, because it again had a combination of numbers. I don't know, but it was very beautiful to read. So today we're going to see such a beautiful topic, that is your Hardy-Weinberg principle. Yes, ma'am, a very happy good evening. So thank you so much for joining my lecture. So please do like, share and subscribe. Right, so what were we discussing in the previous lecture? So we were talking about what is adaptive radiation. So when Charles Darwin went on a trip to an island called as the Galapagos Island, he was fascinated by a particular group of birds which today are called as Darwin's finches. He found many varieties of the finches on the same land, and then they originated or radiated to different parts of the geographical area. So he called this as adaptive radiation. So you had the finch. So you have different modification of the finch in terms of the beak. So all these modifications happened on a single land, and then it radiated to different geographical regions, and that is what he called as adaptive radiation. So one example of your adaptive radiation is your Darwin's finches. The other example are your marsupials, Australian marsupials. Right, so we also spoke one more point. When more than one adaptive radiation happens, so it is called as convergent evolution. So example of convergent evolution would mean your Australian marsupials. Your Australian marsupials in itself is a type of adaptive radiation, but within the Australian marsupials, so we had a further variation of placental owls. So since two types of radiations occurred, this is your convergent evolution. So this is what we spoke about. Then we spoke about the mechanism of evolution. So what happens? You should understand that natural selection actually began when cells with different metabolism arose. Right? So for example, the way my cells digest the food, it's not the same way how a dog's body is going to metabolize the food. The way, for example, how a cow's body digests the food, that is not the way my body is digesting. So they are different things, right? So when you had cells where the metabolism differed, so that is when natural selection came into picture. So natural selection is the basis of evolution according to Charles Darwin. So Charles Darwin believed evolution was supported by natural selection. So this is a form of Darwinian theory, right? So here we gave an example that the rate of evolution is the rate of evolution is directly proportional to the lifespan of an organism. Fine. So the example that I gave was your coronavirus. Your coronavirus lifespan is pretty small, and see within 2.5 years how many varieties, how many mutations it had, right? So that is what I told you. The same evolution to happen in a fish would take millions of years. So I gave the example of a bacteria. So bacteria, when it is supplemented with a medium, it will grow well. So suddenly if the medium is changed, probably the same type of bacteria will not grow. A different type of bacteria grows, that is bacteria B. So see, very soon a new population has emerged. So evolution is very quick in case of bacteria because the lifespan of the bacteria itself is 1 hour or 20 minutes depending on the type or where it lives, right? So thus we said, so the fitness is inherited, and this inheritance is what is important for natural selection. Right? So this is what we concluded. So today we take over from here and see what is the interesting thing that we have to see. So we're going to talk further on biological evolution. So branching, descent and natural selection are the key concepts of Darwinian theory of evolution. So branching descent, meaning we have a common ancestor, right? So you and I have a common ancestor, that is the early man. Early man had a common ancestor. Monkeys had a common ancestor. So everything has a common ancestor at some point or the other. Right? So branching, descent and natural selection are the key concepts of Darwinian theory of evolution. A naturalist was there, another naturalist, probably would have heard about him. He is Lamarck. So he said evolution of life occurred based on the use or disuse of an organism. So when an organ is useful, that appears. When an organ is not useful, it disappears. For example, people say appendix is a vestigial organ. Nipples in man is a vestigial organ. Hair on our skin is vestigial. So why don't this disappear then? But this was a theory of Lamarck, but it was overruled. So he gave the example of long necks of giraffe. Right? So giraffes, when they were like this, they actually bent or strained their neck to feed on the leaves high from the tree. So since they were in need of a long neck, gradually they had long necks. So that is what Lamarck said, but this was not accepted. So this was overruled. So we still do not know if evolution is a process or it's a consequence or a byproduct of process. We are still in a question mark. We don't know how to explain further. Alright, so moving further, so we're going to talk about the mechanism of evolution. So how evolution happens? Yes, I agree, evolution is directly proportional to the lifespan of an organism. All that is fine, but how does evolution actually initiate? So what is the mechanism behind evolution? So why is the coronavirus having so many variants? So why did we have the Delta strain? Why did we have the Omicron? And now the new one is coming. So why are we having so many variants? What is causing the variants? You would have heard this term, that is mutation, right? What is the origin of variation and how does speciation happen? So how do you have different species present? For example, dog is one species, and within dog you have many breeds. You have Labradors, you have Golden Retrievers, you have Alsatian, you have the Pug, you have the Corgi, you have various varieties, right? How different speciation, how does the variation within a species happen, and why are there so many species? Dog is a species, donkey is a species, cow is a species, elephant is a species, right? How does different species happen? So 𝐻𝐴 was another scientist. He said that mutation causes evolution. So since we are done with genetics, so we already know what mutation is. Mutation is a change in the base pair of your DNA. A small change in the base pair of your DNA causes mutation. So 𝐻𝐴 said mutation causes evolution, and he also further stated that mutation are random and they are directionless. So evolution is caused by mutation, and he further said that mutations are random and directionless. But Darwin had a contradictory version to this. So he said mutations are small and directional, and evolution was a gradual process. So Darwin and 𝐻𝐴 agreed on common grounds that evolution is due to mutation. But 𝐒𝐴𝐴𝐵 said mutation is random and directional, whereas Darwin contracted saying that a mutation is small and it's directional and it's a gradual process. So mutation knows in which direction it has to grow. So it is a directional process. So 𝐒𝐴𝐴𝐵 also said mutations cause speciation. So if I have a donkey, if I have a cow, and if I have a goat, there are 3 different species, and these are because of a single large step mutation that is called as saltation. Alright, so this is the beauty of mutation. Ma'am, which one to agree? Should I take up Darwin's theory or 𝐒𝐴𝐴𝐵's theory? So we go with Darwin's theory. So we agree 𝐒𝐴𝐴𝐵's concept of saltation and mutation, but yes, evolution is a gradual process and it is directional. It knows in which direction to take. So probably people say, I don't know if it's true, that we have come from monkeys and after a few million years we'll go back to monkeys. I don't know if it's true. If you had seen my first slide where I had a picture, where there was a picture of me and it said evolution part 4. So the picture that states is from monkey, human comes, and from human again monkey comes. So no one asked me, ma'am, is it that from human we'll go back to monkeys? So it is said so, but we do not know because it is a gradual process. Probably we'll end, I don't know. So let's wait and watch. Okay, so the next concept that we're going to talk, or the most important concept that we're going to talk for today, is Hardy-Weinberg principle, a very important concept. So why it is very important and what is so essential or what is so fascinating about this Hardy-Weinberg concept? It's very simple. So when I say something, so students usually ask me, ma'am, if you like some topic, it's definitely tough for us, because I say my favorite topic is genetics and biotech. So people say, ma'am, both genetics and biotech is tough and they are high weightage chapters. Why do you like tough chapters? So if you ask me if I like human physiology or plant physiology, well, I am a life science student and I know human physiology much better than plant physiology, but I enjoy teaching plant physiology. I don't know why, for some reason. So students ask me, why do you like tough chapters? Probably, I don't know, because I feel I am good in tough chapters where others are weak. So that's what gives me my confidence, right? So is Hardy-Weinberg principle. Everyone scares away from Hardy-Weinberg principle because it has the essence of genetics, and that is why I like it, okay? So probably it is to be out of the box or what, I don't know. Let's see. Hardy-Weinberg principle. So what does Hardy-Weinberg say? So in a given population, one can find frequency of occurrence of alleles of a gene or a locus, right? So for example, if I have a population of 100 people, I have certain genes in common, certain genes which are very specific. Say for example, if I am talking about an Indian population, so no one exactly knows the proper exact figure of the Indian population, we can just generalize and we can round up and say so many millions are there. So let's approximately take, we are 7 billion people in India. So 7 billion people has some common genes in them. So that is why we are Indians and foreigners are foreigners for us. So even if you go, so even when you go abroad, people can easily identify you as Indian. So we are different from them. So we have certain genes in common as Indians and we have certain alleles for those genes. So alleles are alternating pairs of a gene, right? So allele frequency in a population are stable and is constant from generation to generation. And that is what Hardy-Weinberg said. He said it so simply. So this is what he said. So allele frequency in a population are stable. So like I told you, so we have that Indian genes. So the Indian genes allele frequency is common in our population and it is stable from one generation to the other generation. So this generation has a stable allele frequency, so will the upcoming generation. So that is what Hardy-Weinberg said. He never said anything more complicated. So he took a term called as gene pool. So gene pool is the total number of genes and their alleles in a population. The total number of genes and their corresponding alleles in a population is called as gene pool, and he said that the gene pool remains constant. So for example, if we are 7 million Indians here, so we have a particular gene in common and the alleles of the genes in a frequency in a population is stable, right? And these are constant from one generation to the other as well. Hi Tarun, yes, a very happy good evening. So thank you so much for joining my session. So please do like, share and subscribe. right? So, and the gene pool remains constant. So, he said when it remains constant, when the gene pool remains constant, that is called as genetic equilibrium. So, among the Indian population, we have certain genes and the alleles of those genes have a constant frequency and it is also constant from one generation to the other. Thus, the total genes and alleles is a constant, that is your gene pool, and this is your genetic equilibrium. When the frequency of alleles from one generation to the other passes without any change, that is genetic equilibrium. That is what Hardy-Weinberg said. He said it so simply, there is no complication. And he also said the sum of all the frequency is 1. So if you have read probability, everything equals 1. So a value cannot be more than 1 in probability, right? So if P is 0.2, Q is 0.8, because together it has to make 1. The probability of failure and the probability of success equals 1. So it cannot be more. So he also said the sum total of all frequency is 1 or 100%. Because he said it is constant, so it should not change. So he equated it to 1, as simple as that. Okay. But here, since he talked about frequency and the sum total, he took a bit of max inside, that's all. There is no greater confusion. So far you understood? Yes. So we know, we write the alleles of a gene like this. So this is my alleles, right? So alleles are always in pairs. So I can write the allele like this. So this is heterozygous condition. This is homozygous dominant. This is homozygous recessive. So basically there is one dominant allele and one recessive allele. So Hardy-Weinberg said, let me consider the frequency of dominant allele as P. Let me consider the frequency of recessive allele as Q. So if I write AA, if I write this in the allelic pair, the frequency of this will be P square, of this will be Q square, right? So we are talking about gene and allele frequency. So I am considering a simple allele. So there should be one dominant allele and one recessive allele. He considered the frequency of the dominant allele to be capital P and that of a small allele to be Q, right? So when I write AA, the frequency is P square, small a is equal to Q square, right? But we also have a heterozygous condition. So he said P square plus Q square plus 2PQ is equal to 1. So P square is AA plus small a plus capital A small a is equal to 1. So this is what he said. So the frequency of A and small a is 2PQ. So that is what he said. This is your Hardy-Weinberg frequency. Suppose I give you a practical numerical. So I say the population of the frequency of A, say, is 60%. And so please find the frequency of AA and A small a. So if it's 60%, it should be, so let's consider it as 0.6 to avoid confusion in the initial stage. So I say the frequency of small a is 0.6. Please find the frequency of capital A and heterozygous condition. So capital A is 0.6, that is equal to P. So now Q will be 0.4 because P plus Q is 1. So that is why P square plus Q square is also 1. Sorry, P plus Q the whole square, right? So that is also 1. So now this is A. So now they are asking the value probability of AA. This is 0.6 the whole square. So this is 0.36 and A small a will be 2PQ. So it will be 2 into 0.6 into 0.4. So it will be 0.42, right? 0.48. So this is the frequency. So this is 36% or this is 48%. So this is how you calculate the frequency. So there are some factors which affects your Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. What are they? So 5 factors are known to affect your Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. One is gene migration or gene flow. You should also understand, practically speaking, Hardy-Weinberg frequency or Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium holds true only for a small population. It does not hold good for a large population. And this equilibrium can be affected when there is gene migration or gene flow. Suppose we are 7 billion Indians and 2 or say 500 Indians migrate to America and they marry an American and they give birth to a child who is an Indo-American, then there is gene migration. A gene has migrated from this population to that population. Right? Next is a genetic drift. So if a large number of gene migrates, that is genetic drift. Large number of gene migration or gene flow happens, that is your genetic drift. Number 3 is mutation. Suddenly if you all have common Indian gene and there is one mutation which changes everything. So we do not know how many mutations we have because of the coronavirus, right? So mutation. The 4 is genetic recombination. Now, if 500 Indians are moving down to America and they are marrying an American female, so there will be recombination between Indian genes and the American genes and the resultant variant will be very different, right? Natural selection. Even if there is gene flow or gene migration, if the offspring that is coming out of the Indian and the American, it has to be selected by natural selection. So these are the processes that affect your Hardy-Weinberg principle or the equilibrium. There's something called as founder's effect. So what is founder's effect? Since I have a group of population, say for example, initially I had a population A. So the population A was destroyed because of a natural calamity. So instead of population A, now in that place I have population B. But suddenly I can see the genes of population A or I can see some members of population A arising. Say for example, population A were short-heighted people. So now they are all destroyed and now I have population B who are all medium height. So very soon in between the generations, some short people arise. So that is known as founder's effect. So they are the founder of that particular place, right? So this is your founder's effect. All right. So with this, we stop for today's lesson. We'll continue on Wednesday where I'll be talking about the evolution of man. So origin and evolution of man will be a story for another day. So we'll continue this topic on Wednesday because I still have a lot of important anecdotes to share with you. So I'll continue further on Wednesday. So thank you so much for watching my lecture today. So please be there on Wednesday at 4:15. So until then, this is me signing off. So take care and bye-bye.